I've been
unmasked.
unmasked. I know, it's gonna be low-key almost sponsored. Honestly, at this point, I feel like Coke should definitely sponsor me because of how many I drink on this podcast.
Oh yeah, I'm like, this is my number one soda, so.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm usually more of a Dr. Pepper person, but they
yes.
don't have that, and Warren Buffett drinks this stuff every day, so if it's good enough for him and he's like a dinosaur, it's probably good enough for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do that. Anyway, how are you today?
Good.
Yeah?
Good. A little tired from the weekend, but good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You have a busy weekend?
Yeah. Friday night was pretty busy the whole day, so yesterday I was relaxing, and then today I'm kind of back at it, so yeah.
What does your relaxation days look like?
Just sleeping in as long as possible, and then like watching Netflix, eating food.
Yeah?
Just staying home, yeah.
Do you have any specific like self-care routines or anything specific for your mind and body that truly kind of you feel like rejuvenate you in a way?
Ooh, good question. I feel like, I don't know, it depends on the day. I feel like I haven't given myself a full self-care day like that, aside from like sleeping in and stuff, but like, I don't know, I'll do like a skincare routine or like take a super long shower or just honestly just relax in bed with a good show, and I'm just, tune everybody out with my dog.
I feel like being in the makeup industry, something like skincare is a very big thing for you.
Yeah.
Am I safe to assume that?
Yeah, because I feel like if you don't have good skin, like your makeup won't look as good, I feel like. So, I mean, there's only so much we can do. So, if the canvas is not great, then the photo's not going to look that great either.
That's true. When it comes to things like sleeping in, I noticed there will be some times where I do, like my goal is to try to sleep in as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of the spectrum, that can also be worse for me, I notice. If I allow myself to sleep in too much, I don't feel rejuvenated at all. I feel even worse.
More groggy and more,
And I know that there's like a lot of sleep experts that say that sleeping in more or sleeping more can be just as bad, make you feel just as bad as not getting enough. Yeah. And so that was one of the things that I had to learn is what actually makes me feel like I've had a day off versus what I think. Like if I have a day to where I pretty much stay in bed all day, watching Netflix, eating food, doing all that, it sounds like a really nice, relaxing day.
Yeah.
But I end up feeling like absolute dog shit at the end of it. I feel like I haven't gotten out, I haven't done anything. Like even if it's obviously taking a break from work, I still feel like I needed to be productive in some sort of matter, whether that was getting outside and taking a hike or going on a walk with my dog or just doing something.
Yeah. I feel like my bed is really comfortable too. So I'll like wake up and then I'll turn around and I'm like, oh, well, I'm starting to fall asleep again. So I just end up like in a toss and turn situation. And it takes me a while to get out of bed on those days where I'm like, today's my day to just, not put on an alarm. But I find myself sometimes like if I sleep in and then I get up and I'm like, okay, now I have to do something, I start like organizing like random things like, oh, today I'll clear off this counter, organize it, or let me do a laundry a certain way and take my time to like fold things. And then
that's funny. Yeah. Honestly, I try not to really take quote unquote lazy days that much. I'll give myself a day off. I try to personally stick to 5 work days, 1 day for extreme socializing, and then 1 day of seclusion. So I'll do obviously my 5 work days, and then 1 day it'll be hang out with whoever I can, go out, just do whatever. Obviously it doesn't have to always involve spending money. It can be, but that can be like my day to hang out with the girlfriend, hang out with friends, get coffee with people, get lunch, be social.
Yeah.
That's the 1 day I have. And it doesn't have to land on the same day every day. It obviously, if a Saturday comes up and I'm like, I don't want to see a person at all today, I'll be like, this is my seclusion day. But if I wake up and I'm like, okay, I kind of want to socialize a little bit. I'll do that. And then the next day I'll be like, oh, I need to have a day of to myself.
Yeah. You're better than me because I feel like my days are just, it really just depends.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I like being around people. But I feel like over the weekends I'm around too many people. So then during the week I'm like, oh, just,
Well, your career is oriented around other people.
Yeah.
Like, you can't technically be at work
and not be around anybody.
Yeah, unless obviously you're doing makeup on yourself, or maybe you have a mannequin that you're trying a new look on.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's practicing. That's not necessarily putting money into your pocket work. So in order for you to work, you have to be around other people, and that often includes talking and stuff, or like
a lot of small talk. And because a lot of I have repeat clients, but a lot of the times too, it's like brand new clients or one-off, like it's just a wedding, so it's like I'm meeting someone new, so I'm like, okay, now I have to make small talk and restart this connection and do all these things. And after like a wedding, it does take a toll on you. Like, I'll get home sometimes, and even if I have something else to do, I'm like, I just need 15 minutes to decompress before I get my social battery up again and go out and do whatever I have to do. So
definitely. I mean, I used to have like an unlimited social battery.
Oh yeah, same.
I used to be able to literally live my life hanging out around people. I used to absolutely hate just being by myself and doing all that. But then I forced myself to get into that little bit of seclusion. Like after the pandemic happened and stuff, and I couldn't really hang out with as many people, I couldn't go on as many outings and do as much stuff. It forced me to really learn how to be okay with myself. And
I feel like I was like, I like doing things alone, and I don't mind being alone. I don't mind my alone time. But I'm also like, if I'm with my friends, if I feel like going out or doing something, then I'm fine too. So it just depends. But I'm the type of person, I don't like to go shopping with other people. I don't like to go to the gym with other people. Yeah. I'm like, I'd rather go shopping by myself. I'd rather go to the gym by myself. I'd rather
Gotcha.
But I think about it like, I don't know how, because I like to party too. Like I love being around music and people. So I think back to pre-COVID, and I'm like, I don't know how some nights I would go out like Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or like a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And now I'm like, oh my God, I do one night out, and the next day I just need to like recoup for the weekend. And I
used to not be able to go to the gym alone. I used to always have to have some sort of gym buddy. But then obviously schedules kind of get mixed up sometimes, and especially like if neither of you guys are in a full-on 9-to-5 career type of thing, to where it's like, oh, I know I have these 2 days a week off. A lot of times that kind of gets mixed up a little bit, and so eventually I had to learn how I'm like, well, I can't just not go to the gym. And this person isn't able to go, this person isn't able to go, so what am I going to do? And so I had to learn how to do that, and now I almost have a difficult time going with another person. Now I'm like, I've learned how to plug my headphones in and just get in my own zone. I learned how to do my own workouts and stuff. And so when I have a friend that's kids go to the gym together, and I'm like, God damn it. I had a full routine that I was going to do today. Unless you're going to do my exact routine, or you're doing the exact muscle groups, then I don't know how we're going to do this, because I already did this yesterday. I have this planned tomorrow. Like, I have my full week of workouts planned. So I don't know how we're going to do this.
I feel like, well, it depends. Sometimes, going to the gym with someone can help with like accountability and like, making sure you actually get to the gym. But, like I'll go to the gym with my boyfriend and stuff like that. But I've done the thing where I've gone to the gym with like some of my girls, and we don't want to do the same workouts, or they're going much harder than I want to go that day. And then, they're getting annoyed with me because I'm like, oh, what are we doing next? So then I'm like, you know what? That's the thing I just need to do, and on my own pace. Same thing with like shopping. If I'm the type that I'll go to Walmart for one thing, or Target's the worst. But I'm like, I need to look through every aisle just in case.
Absolutely not. My girlfriend does that. Like, if she ever says let's go to Target, I know I'm like, I gotta bring like snacks. I gotta bring like a full carry kit to make sure that I'm occupied for the next like 6 hours. Because for me, I'm a get in, get out type of guy.
That's how my boyfriend is too. Yeah.
I'm a, okay, what do I need? I need this, this, and this. I know exactly what area of the store it's on.
And you just go straight
and
to
I like map out a little thing in my head, like, okay, if I go here, I can turn left to this aisle, cut through this aisle, get this, boom, boom, boom. Let's see how fast. If I can make it under 10 minutes, I'm good to go.
Oh, no, I'm like, well, let's see what we find along the way. And, oh, this is on sale. Oh, let me go try this on. And then it just takes, it's like a 3-hour thing at each store. I'm like, okay.
That's one of the reasons why I have to go shopping by myself a lot of times, or with like another guy. Because another guy, me, will be like, boom, 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 boom.
Get in and get out.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm able to push my girlfriend and stuff when we're in there. I'm like, you don't need that. You don't need that. We're here for this, this, and this. Yeah. And she'll get distracted. I'm like, is this where this is? No. Okay, let's go.
And then she wants a Starbucks, and then it's like
that I'm not opposed to getting though. Especially if like we're not on a time crunch and it's kind of something that she needs, and I'm just going with her.
Yeah. Then
I'm like, okay, let's get Starbucks. Does that at least give me something to do, and I'll at least have my own little treat for going.
Yeah.
But if it's something that we both need, I'm like, okay, we don't need this. Yeah. Can we just like keep going? For the gym thing. Say, because obviously I know that you do have a boyfriend. Mm-hmm. I want to get a female's perspective on this.
Okay.
Even when I was single, I was never one to think that picking up a girl at the gym was ever a good idea.
Okay, yeah.
For me personally, like obviously I can't really put myself too much in a female's shoes.
Yeah. And
stuff. I don't know everything they go through, but I'm plugged in with my headphones. I have rage music going on. I'm not in the mindset of, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
I'm, get the fuck away from me. I'm in my zone type of thing. And there's so many people that I know, though, that meet their significant other, or they meet someone at a gym. They're like, oh, the gym is like better than Tinder for me. And I'm like, how though? Like, I've never met a single girl that gets there. Like, obviously you're going to be friendly. You're not just going to immediately be like, what the fuck do you want? Get the fuck away from me. But hardly ever is it like, I've never actually heard of a girl saying, like, I love it when a guy approaches me at the gym and we start talking and stuff.
I think it depends on the girl. Like, for me, myself, I'm like, I'm going to the gym and I'm just, like, in my own little world and I don't want to talk to anybody or anything. So if someone were to come up to me, I kind of would be like, okay, like, let's speed up this conversation because I need to finish what I'm doing. But I feel like everyone's different. But I feel like the general consensus with most females are like they'd rather not, if they're going to the gym, they're trying to get their workout in, they'd rather not like.
And obviously it's a very subjective thing. Yeah. It depends on a few things. Like there's timing. If it's in between reps and stuff and they're taking a little bit of a break, they might be okay a little bit with taking their headphones off for a quick second, saying hi, and it depends how you approach them. You obviously can't be like, oh, your ass looks really nice right now, and or like, oh man, the way you did those squats is just amazing and stuff.
Like, what?
But if like when I was single, I was thinking, I'm like, oh, you know what? If I just ask her what she's listening to right now, we can start a conversation about music, and I can do that, and that could lead into something. So I feel like, one, it depends on the person, because if it's a butt-ass ugly dude talking to some chick, I'm sorry, that's just like, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But if it's like some guy that she thinks is gorgeous, obviously she's gonna be okay a little bit more with talking. If she's single,
depends. And then like you said, timing too, because like, I don't know.
It's always been like a curious thing, because I know that obviously that's a good benchmark for a lot of couples to have, is like being active. And it's like, oh, if I meet a girl at the gym, I know she's already active. Or same thing with a girl. If it's like, I met him at the gym, so I know he's already active. I know he has the discipline to go to the gym. I know he probably eats pretty well, and he has those things crossed off. But then there's so many different variables. Like, oh, is it some meathead dude that does this just because he just got done taking 12 lines of coke yesterday and he needs to feel better about himself for today? Is it someone who is narcissistic? Because there's a lot of those kind of guys that go there, and they're the kind of guys that would be having sex with a girl and looking at themselves in the mirror the entire time and being like, oh, like American
look so
Psycho
great right now. Yeah.
Or like there's so many different variables. when it comes to a guy like that. And like even for women, anytime I'm at the gym, I always see like 3 or 4 different kinds of women. I see the determined woman who is there. She's no bullshit. She's like, you can tell that she's like
lifting.
Yeah,
like,
you can tell like she's getting ready for an Arnold competition.
Yeah.
There's the oh look at me girl.
Yeah.
The girl that's sitting there, the only thing she does the entire time is butt exercises. She doesn't give a shit about anything else on her body.
Taking selfies in the mirror.
Yeah, she's over there like half the time posing in the mirror trying to make herself look good.
Yeah.
Those are like when I used to go to the gym with a couple other friends, the girl that we were going with, she was definitely like that. She was like, oh, let's do this. And I'm like, we just did legs 2 days in a row. Yeah. Why are we doing legs again today? Or like we'd be doing an arm exercise and she'd be doing the exact same thing that just does like one little arm workout. And I'm like, no, you have to
get into it and
you have to do multiple things. And she'd be like stuck on the tricep machine for an hour while we're doing all these different things. Like, oh yeah, boom, I'm doing this. And I'm like, this is annoying as shit at this point. Like, if the leg day, I'll follow your leg day because I know you're going to have an amazing workout for that. But anything else, like, you need to do other stuff. And then there's Miss Treadmill, who her going to the gym is just going to a treadmill for 4 hours straight and then leaving.
And I feel like I've been that person lately in this stage of life when I go to the gym, because I don't go to the gym as often as I would like. I feel like I used to be a little bit more active than I am now. So now when I go, I'm like, okay, let me start on the treadmill because I don't want to overexert myself on the first day. And then
that's true.
So I have to get back into a routine. But there are the people that you just see there every single time, and that's all they're doing.
Yeah. And it's not even just women. There's usually 3 or 4 different types of guys, too, when I go. There's creepy dude that we don't know why he's there. He's just there to... We question his existence in the gym. Yeah. There's Mr. Jeans, who goes and he's not wearing any workout attire. You can tell this is probably his first gym membership he's ever had, and he's coming there.
Or it looks like he just got off of work and just decided, I'm going to walk in like this. I've definitely seen those people, and I'm like, you didn't even, like, change your shoes.
I'm like, those are the most, like, rigid jeans in the world. Like, how are you doing anything?
No stretch.
Let's see who else we have. We have Mr. Meathead, who comes in with, like, an entire pantry worth of supplements, and they're packing everything in. They have the most designer gym attire and stuff. Yeah. Probably a couple gold chains and stuff, which we're questioning. I'm like, why do you have 12 gold chains around your neck when you're bench pressing? Yeah. You don't need to, we don't need to see your net worth while you're working out. Yeah. And then, let's see, who else do we have? Especially in the sauna, there's different people that go into the sauna. 'Cause I'm a huge sauna. I love the sauna.
I like sitting in the sauna too.
But even that, there's Mr. Workout Dude in the sauna, to where it's like, dude, it's already 180 in here. Why do you need to work out? Yeah. And then there's...
doing, like, abs while everyone's resting.
Yeah. The grunt/breathing dude that's sitting there, yeah! And I'm sitting there, I'm like, dude, just shut the fuck up. And then there's, like, the loud music guy that's pumping 21 Savage in his ears or something.
Singing, rapping.
Oh my God. I had one guy the other day. He didn't even wear headphones. He just blasted it on his phone.
And everyone else was just sitting there awkward. Like, I didn't know what to do.
I was like, I was so close to being like, shut the fuck up, okay? This is, like, if this is your personal sauna or it's even just, like, in a personal area, fine, by all means. But I don't want to listen to your shitty rap music while I'm in here. This is my meditation time. Yeah. This is my... Put the headphones in your ear. I don't want to hear whatever type of bullshit. It's funny too, because the people that listen, it's always the whitest kid in the room.
And he's like in there with like his cut off shirt or something. And
it's always like the whitest kid who is like some college fraternity brother. Yeah. That's just like, he's trying to act as badass and as gangster as possible, and he's sitting there bumping and he's
let me do this in the sauna right
new
now.
Underground Little title dude or something. And it's like, oh, this is fire. And I'm like, it sounds like 40 other million SoundCloud rappers. I don't know.
That are out right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have like the dude that's overly sweaty, and it's like, how long have you been in here?
I have one dude that I've been seeing in the gym for a little bit. I call him Not So Slim Shady, because he comes in and he wears 3 hoodies, along with 2 layers. He's white as paper. He's probably like in his late 40s or something. And he's coming in there. He's chewing. I think it's cinnamon gum or something. Because he's.
Oh my gosh, I hate that.
And then he's like has that over-ear headphones on, and it looks like he's trying to bust some 8 Mile shit. And I'm like, oh my god. And the other day, he was talking to some other dude, and I was kind of looking at him. I'm like, I can tell you're late 30s at least, early 40s. And he was like, oh yeah, I was at home and some chick hit me up and asked to come over, and obviously it's 2 a.m. I know what that means. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, how old are you? And you're talking to the other side. He's like, yeah. So
this is all in the sauna?
Yeah.
Oh.
This is all in the sauna. I'm in the corner minding my own business.
Yeah.
And he's sitting there like, yeah, she came over, and then like 3 months later her boyfriend messages her and says, hey, I'm going to come pick you up. I'm sitting there like, oh, bro, she's over here about to get some dick. And you're like cock blocking me and stuff. And I'm like, I really hope I'm nothing like you at your age.
And you're like, first of all, why can't everyone hear this right now?
Well, the guy that he's talking to is looking at him like, I don't want to be hearing this either.
Yeah.
And like you can tell they're kind of buddies, or at least they go to the gym.
Know each other.
Yeah, they know each other a little bit. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, bro, grow the fuck up. If you have roommates and you're doing all that and you're like almost in your 50s and you're talking about dicking down some younger girl or something, and like, oh yeah, my roommate was home and stuff and doing all that, I'm like, you are just making yourself look like
a douche.
The only girl that would want you is a girl with hardcore daddy issues.
Yeah. Seriously.
Well, no, it was kind of funny too, because the other guy was like, oh yeah, and you're like, you're old as shit too. And he was like, oh, the other guy, he's like in his 50s, her boyfriend or whatever. And I'm like, sounds like y'all need to both leave her alone then.
Yeah.
If she's doing this kind of shit, it sounds like she's got some major issues herself.
And yeah.
I don't know. It's you meet some interesting people.
Characters at the gym.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from all that. So, act like you're going on a talk show, or you are going on to some hugely successful show. Your business just got launched off. You're kind of doing that. How would you want someone to introduce you? Like, what kind of accolades would you want them to make sure that they say, if any? How would you want them to describe you? Because I know a lot of times on like a podcast or something, or on some sort of show, they're like, Grammy nominated and Emmy award winning, blah, blah, blah. And they go through all these different accolades.
Yeah.
There's some times where I look at the person's face and they're like, I wish you would just say, hey, welcome on the stage, Alex.
Yeah.
Or welcome on the stage, Gabi. What would you want them to say when introducing you?
That's a good question. I've never thought about that before. I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't want them to just call me a makeup artist, because I feel like I'm much more than that. But I feel like sometimes I get put into this, you're just a makeup artist box. And I'm like, no, I have other talents. I'm actually creative in other ways.
What would you want them to make sure that, like, instead of a makeup artist?
Well, I would want them to mention, though, that, like, for this year, if this was happening now, I guess, that I was, voted best makeup artist in Scottsdale by Modern Luxury magazine. So I would want that in there.
That's a hell of an accomplishment right there.
Yeah, we have the magazines are sitting out there, actually. Ooh. But and Carrie Underwood is on the cover, which I think is cool.
Really?
So yeah.
Wait, did you get to work with Carrie Underwood?
No, but she's on the cover of the magazine.
Oh, okay.
But I'm on the inside of the
there
magazine.
There you go.
So.
Heck yeah, you're in the same little booklet and stuff.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I don't know. I think I would just want to be titled as a entrepreneur, creative, in that sense, and not just like she's just a makeup artist.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it irritate you a lot when someone just calls you a makeup artist? Like, is it kind of like a feeling like...
No, I think it irritates me a little bit when I bring something else to the table and then people are like, oh, wow, really? You did that? And I'm like, yes, I can also do that. Like, it's not like a big surprise, okay. Like kind of
why are you surprised that I'm able to do something
like
that?
Then that's when I'm like, yes, I know how to do other things. I'm not just, So I think that's in the only sense. where I get like little like, yeah.
In a case like that, though, is it something that they should know that you do other stuff as well? Because I feel like a lot of times people specialize in one thing.
Yeah.
And that's what they're known for.
Yeah.
And getting upset at another party because they don't know what they don't know, I feel like that kind of goes into its own thing. Like if someone were to meet me and they just saw me in a film or something, they don't know anything about me having a podcast. They don't know anything about me doing anything else. They've just seen me in a movie. Yeah. And they come up and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know you know how to play guitar too. I feel like it would be unfair for me in a way to be like, well, duh, I can do that. In their eyes, all they see is someone that has been on the screen. So I feel like there's two sides of that coin even.
Yeah. I mean, I guess obviously if it's a person who doesn't know you like that, then that makes sense for them to be like, oh, you do these other things. That's so cool. But if it's someone who you're around, and I feel like not even that they should know, but they should believe that I'm capable of doing that. Okay. You know what I mean?
So it's less of like a knowing and more of just like a, do you not believe that I could have done something like that? Or okay. So is it kind of like a
it doesn't happen. I don't feel like it happens often, but it has happened before. And I'm just like, yes, I did that. Or yes, I can do that. Or I can help you with this and I can get it done in a certain way because I do know how to do that. So just believe in me, you know?
Do you feel like first, what was it that, do you remember what it was
It's been throughout the years, I feel like, with just different people. It hasn't been one specific like time I'm referencing. It's just been throughout my creative career, I guess. Okay.
And it kind of just made you feel a little bit less than?
Not really. It's just, I think it's just something that crosses my mind. It's not like I don't get upset over it or like super irritated, but I'm just kind of like, well, yeah, I can do that.
I'm also curious about, so being an entrepreneur and business owner and stuff, and wanting to strive for the best, do you kind of have I don't want to say underdog complex, but a thing that you almost have to prove yourself in a way to people? I know for me, I have that a lot to where like I almost have something to prove to a lot of people, or at least even to myself, and that can kind of come off in that complex of like, oh, you didn't think I could do this, and like trying to almost be a master of a jack of all trades. I'm
going to show you now that I can.
Oh, you didn't think I knew how to do this? Oh, well, I'm going to master it now so that no one can ever tell me otherwise.
Yeah. I think in a way I have that. Well, I feel like I go into things just always wanting to be the best at whatever it is I'm doing. And I do like to have that feeling of accomplishment, and I do like to receive accolades for things. But I do think that there is some sort of like oh, you didn't think I was great before and now you do kind of thing. Like, oh, okay. Like, look at what I'm doing now. Yeah. So I think I have a little bit of that in a sense.
I definitely relate to that a lot, especially so in high school and stuff. I wasn't the popular kid. I wasn't the hardcore partier. I wasn't the one that like you would expect to see at all the parties and doing all that. I wasn't necessarily bullied, but I definitely wasn't in with like the jocks and all that kind of stuff. And so right after high school, I started an entertainment company, which was like throwing giant parties and promoting stuff. And out of nowhere, all these jocks that I went to high school with and stuff were starting to approach me and like, oh my God, hey, what's up? And I kind of got that complex of like, why the fuck are you talking to me now? Yeah. I was in your gym class for 3 years. I was doing like, I was around you all that time and you didn't bat an eye on me. Yeah. And now it's like the kid from high school that nobody knew is now throwing all these giant things. I'm like, it kind of put a chip in my shoulder of like, no, like you don't deserve to be around me now. You don't deserve to talk to me.
I feel like I can relate to that. Like I don't like in high school, I feel like I had different friend groups because I had my friends that I like grew up with, like, you know, went to middle school with and stuff, and now they're my close friends and they're in high school, and so I'm friends with them. And then I had like the people that I met in high school that I became friends with, and then I had the people on the basketball team, because I played basketball, that I became friends with. So I don't think I was ever put into like a certain category.
Right.
But I also feel like my friends were always a little bit more of like the popular ones, and I was just like, oh, she's friends with them. Like that's her friend. Not like, oh, that's Gabi. They're like, oh, that's
she's
this person's
related
friend.
to this person in a way.
So I don't feel like, I don't know. I feel like I was brushed off a little bit at some times during high school, and I didn't go to high school parties that much, and I also feel like I wasn't like the girl that all the guys had crushes on and stuff like that. So I was just, I don't know. Sometimes I felt like I was, you know, on the back burner, and I feel like now I'm like doing all these things, and so it kind of is like that chip on your shoulder, or like that, like
it's like a compensation.
Yeah, not that I have to prove anything to anyone, but it's kind of just like to myself, I guess. You know, like in my head, I'm like, now I'm the shit, but back then I wasn't, I guess. So.
Which honestly, I kind of had that mentality in high school a little bit. I'm like, just wait, y'all are gonna see a glow up. Y'all are gonna see like that kid that nobody fucking knew in high school, that kid that like we grew up together, but I was always under the radar, is now going to be, while you're sitting in your living room with the wife that you don't even want to be with anymore, you're going to see on TV me accepting a Grammy Award. Yeah. I'm like, oh my God, I know that kid. And I'll be like, yeah, no one paid attention to me, but like the one kid that wasn't expected to glow up at all is now out here doing all this. And
I feel like from high school to now, I've definitely had like a big glow up.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I also feel like people knew me, like people know who I am, you know, but I was also very shy, and I was like the quiet friend, unless you really, really knew me. Like my best friends will tell you that I'm like crazy, goofy, like I'm the one who was always doing like crazy things and funny faces and stuff. But other people just knew me as like, oh, she's the quiet one. She plays basketball. She's friends with this person, and that's it. And so now if I were to run into someone from high school that I haven't seen since then, they'd probably be like, oh my God, who is this person? Because I feel like I'm more like living my true self, I guess.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because a lot of times I notice, depending on who it is that I talk to, can depend on what I tell them about me. So if it's someone from high school or something that I knew they had a big status in high school, and they might have quote unquote peaked or something either in high school or college, I'll go on to try to overcompensate myself a little bit to show them that like, oh, I might not have gone to this top university, I might not have been the MVP of the basketball team or the baseball team. I still like, I wasn't a loser coming out of high school. You might have thought I was going to be a loser, but I'm not a loser, and like here's my way of proving it, versus like if it's just like another friend. Like I do that so much. I see when it's someone I haven't seen in a while,
like you feel like you have to talk yourself up or about yourself more than like, you would
like compensating a little bit, trying to prove that I didn't waste my life away, that just because I didn't conform to society's standards of going to a top-notch school and becoming the number one jock of the school, and then going to a huge university and getting a 6-figure degree or something, and conforming to those, that I didn't just throw my life away to become one of those burger flippers or something. And not to say that life necessarily is bad, but in my standards, it's not up to my standards. I've always had high standards for myself growing up.
Same.
And so there's a sense there that I need to show that I didn't conform to that direction that I could have gone down. Yeah.
And it's not even a thing of like trying to be cocky or anything. It's just like you're proud of what you've accomplished and you want to share it with people, and then it's like oh, I haven't seen you in forever, and you used to be the most popular kid, but now, like, look what I've done type of thing. But I don't know. I think it's, like, more for yourself. Like, more, you know.
It's 100% for yourself. Yeah. I mean, when I look back and I'm like, there's a big chance they weren't even thinking about that at all. It's me injecting a thought into their head. And chances are they were just like, oh, cool. I haven't seen him in a while. Like, I wonder how he's doing with life. And, like, I think about that way for other people because of the standards I put on myself. Yeah. Because of the fact that there's a lot I want to accomplish. And I feel like for me, I get scared of being considered a failure. I don't want to be considered a failure even if I didn't conform to the path that would have been considered success. Yeah. Meaning going to college, getting a good degree and getting a big career field and all that. Yeah. Like, I'm going against the grain of society and pursuing my own thing. And obviously,
you just want to prove that it works. You're like, well, my way worked, even though everyone's like, don't go this way, you know?
Yeah, like, kind of, there's that proving factor, I feel like, in myself that I need to know that I didn't fail.
Yeah, same.
And that gets injected and put onto other people, even if they're not actually thinking it. For me, in my head, they're thinking it, so I need to prove that about myself. And like, I catch myself on all the time, and even though I tell people like, oh, you shouldn't care what other people thinking and all that kind of stuff, obviously for me myself, that's hard for me to believe myself, because this entire time I'm telling myself like, what if you did follow that path?
I think it's human nature too to care what people are thinking just a little bit. Like, I don't believe when people are like, well, I don't care about what people think. That's to a bullshit. Certain degree, everyone cares what people think. Yeah. Some just care more than others do, you know? Yeah. But there is always that little, like, you know, well, you know, people are going to see this, so I have to execute. And yeah.
So I kind of let you in a little bit on, I don't want to say a flaw of mine. As someone who does work for herself now full-time, which congratulations on making that transition. I know it's probably been a crazy one. We can probably get into that. But as someone who is very independent in their own life and stuff, and I'm sure that there are people that look at you, and I don't want to say idolize, because I hate when that term gets thrown around of people idolizing another person, because you should never idolize a person. Yeah. But people look at you and are inspired by you and put you like almost on this pedestal or something. On the other side of that pedestal for you, there's a whole different story that happens. What are some of like the most tough things with yourself that people on the outside probably wouldn't see?
Well, I mean, the road to getting to, you know, working for yourself full time obviously is not easy. Right. And I don't know, I feel like people think that, and I'm saying this because I've had someone tell me this before, so that I have it all together, and I seem that I'm, you know, very put together with things, but I mean, there are days when I'm a mess and I'm just like, what? I don't even know what I'm doing with my life right now. Or like I get into a creative rut and I'm just like, I should be doing more and I don't feel like I'm doing enough. I feel like I can be hard on myself, and I'm also a perfectionist. So like, I feel like I should always be doing something. And I feel like if I don't have clients booked, or I don't have an event coming up, or I don't have something like that I'm like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything and I haven't accomplished anything. Meanwhile, I have accomplished things and I have a lot to show for, but for me, I'm just like, I'm not doing shit. So I don't know. I think I'm hard on myself in that sense, that I feel like sometimes I can get too lazy, and I'm like, okay, I did this last month and that was cool, got that accolade, but what am I doing this month? Because I need something.
But it's not actually being lazy. It's your perception that because you're not working as hard this month or right now as you maybe were 3 months ago, that you're perceiving yourself as lazy. Right? Yeah. Because from what it sounds like, you're not actually being lazy unless...
I mean, I have my lazy days, don't get me wrong.
Well, yeah, and
but
we all need to have those, but you're
Yeah.
not actually... And that's a very similar thing that I deal with too, but that's what I've had to realize is you're not actually being lazy. Maybe you need to recuperate a little bit.
Yeah.
And you need to give yourself a break.
Yeah.
But you just worked your ass off probably the week prior or the month prior.
Yeah.
And, I mean, even... there are actors and stuff. That's a huge thing with actors because they'll work for 6 to 8 months straight on a set, working 70 plus hours a week on a film and doing all this, but then take literally months off of just being quote unquote lazy when in reality they just worked harder than any human alive for 8 months straight.
I feel like I think that's a big thing. I always have like this voice in the back of my head that's like, you could be doing more. Like, get up and go do something. So there's that. And then I also feel like, like just, I don't always have it put together. I think, like what people might think I do. But, everyone has shit that goes on in their lives and no one knows what goes on at home, So it's like, don't look at everyone or don't look at what you see on social media and think, oh, that person's life is perfect and they have it all put together and they have it all figured out and they know exactly what they're doing, because a lot of us don't know what we're doing and we're just taking it day by day and learning as we go. So I think,
At the same time, I feel like there does need to be some credit given. I mean, the fact that you do support yourself 100%, the fact that you're not homeless, you do have a roof over your head, and you're doing something that you love. You have been able to cross that line of doing something for work that might not feel like work for you. It's something that you're not dreading the Monday morning coming up and only looking forward to weekends and stuff. And I mean, there's, like I said, there's nothing wrong specifically with that life. If that's the kind of life that you want to have, by all means. Yeah. But you are living a lot of people's kind of dream life of being able to
kind of wake up and just decide what you want to do for that day.
But at the same time, I was talking to another business owner the other day. That kind of thing is too glamorized, I feel like, especially for business owners, because it's not being able to wake up whenever you want, do whatever you want, and then just call yourself a millionaire type of thing. I'm sure there's plenty of days where it's like, shit, I have to wake up at like 5 a.m. today so that I can get all these clients, especially if it's a big event like a wedding. And it's an all-day event type of thing. You have to get the bride's makeup done. If it's like a thing to where they want everyone's makeup pristine. It's
I've definitely like gotten 2 venues at 4 a.m. And, to start my day and do things. I've gone to bed at 8 before and woken up at midnight to get to a client's house at 1 a.m. because they had to leave their house at 3 a.m. to get to something. So it's people think it's cool, like, oh, you get to set your own schedule and do all this, and it's like, but you don't know like when or what time you might have to go to a commercial set or a client or a wedding, or there's not like a set schedule, and it can be, it's not easy, like I said.
No, I mean, it does offer freedom in the sense that if there is a certain day coming up that you do need off, you could just not schedule anyone for that day and be able to have that. But unlike for a 9 to 5 to where you probably have PTO or something and you can get paid for not working for that day.
But for us,
in the
it's
business
like
thing, if you don't work, you don't make money.
Yeah, exactly.
If there's a day, like, I feel like when a business owner, like, say a Saturday's coming up, and you have the option to either take it off or take on a wedding client that's going to be like, hey, I can pay you, I have a budget of $10,000. You have the potential to make $10,000 in one day.
Oh, I'm taking the wedding.
But that could also mean that you work for 13 days straight without a single day off. And you don't give yourself that balance. And obviously, yes, after that, you could take a day off or something. But in those kind of instances, it's not like, oh, so you get to, if you wanted to work one day a week, you could. It's like, well, yeah, I technically, I guess, could, but I wouldn't want to do something like that.
You have freedom to a certain extent with certain things and certain aspects of life, but financial freedom. You don't really have financial freedom, I think, until you get to certain tax brackets, and then you could be like, oh, you know, do whatever. But at this, like, you know, this is only it's been 3 years since I started working for myself, but I don't count 2020 because 2020 was like weird, you know. So this is only my second like full year of figuring the shit out. So it's like I'm not at that point of like complete financial freedom where I can just be like, oh, I don't need to work this weekend when I could take on a bunch of clients. So it's like you have freedom to a certain extent.
Yeah. And even with that quote unquote financial freedom right now, I don't think you get to that point until you are passive. Because at this point, like you could, even you could be making millions of dollars a year, but you're in a growth stage to where most of that money isn't just for you. It's putting, like, maybe hiring other makeup artists to be under your brand, and that way you can get triple the amount of clients and be able to grow that. Or maybe it's investing into new equipment for yourself. Yeah. It's not like, oh, so you make 6 figures, and it's like, well, gross. Yeah. I make 6 figures. In
like,
reality,
I gotta buy new makeup. I gotta, you know,
exactly, gas
and
and then taxes, obviously.
And taxes,
that's a whole nother situation. Like the taxes for working for yourself versus working for a regular job. Yeah. When working a regular job, you don't really have to worry about taxes
because it just gets taken out.
Yeah, it gets taken out. Like the only thing you worry about is filing so that you can get a return at the end of the year. But technically, you've already paid your taxes with the W-2. With working for yourself, you gotta figure that out. You gotta either figure out of how to get the best tax lawyer or CPA to be able to get as many write-offs as possible, and then even going to that whole tax thing. That's where a lot of people, like these more rich people, should be taxed more. And for me, I have my own opinions about all that. Yeah. For me, I'm like, well, I mean, the tax system is a game that's you just learn. It's a game that's supposed to be learned. Yeah. If you're too lazy to want to learn it, you're going to suffer the consequences and pay more. Yeah. Versus if you're going to be willing to take some due diligence to learn about all the loopholes, all of the different things in tax write-offs. I mean, there is a reason why a lot of these more wealthy people pay very little in taxes, and it's not just because they're evading taxes. Yeah. It's because they hire people that specialize in, like, well, technically, if you spend a little bit more here and you buy this and you don't put this in profit or you put this money this way, you don't pay to the government this. Yeah. And like that's how a lot of YouTubers and stuff stay wealthy, because for them they're like, oh, well, if I just buy more equipment, it's taking that profit and I have more equipment. And so it's like learning. There's so much more learning and that you have to do.
Like, yeah, that's another thing with, you know, working for yourself is at the beginning stages too, especially, you end up having to be your own like bookkeeper, accountant, do all these things and make sure everything's accounted for. Yeah. Whereas when I had a 9-to-5, I'm like, oh, this is all taken out. I'm just getting my paycheck.
Yeah, once you're gone from the office, you're done. Yeah. You don't think about work anymore. You're thinking about other stuff. But as a business owner, you never not think
about what's next or what you have to do. And I feel like I'm always thinking about like what's my next thing or what's my next opportunity that I can like weasel my way into, or like what what's my next goal here. So even though I might be at home like sitting there like, you know, having a day off or whatever, I'm still like on my phone looking at, oh, I want to collab with this person, or I should reach out to this person because then I can make this happen. And
what's the scariest part about what you do?
The scariest part,
like, even if it's not necessarily just being a makeup artist, but like the scariest part about being a self-employed entrepreneur business woman.
I think it's you know, the, like you were saying, if you don't work, you don't make money. So it's that uncertainty of like not having a paycheck every Friday. You know what I mean? So it's
not having like a consistent income.
Yeah. Like knowing like, okay, every week I'm going to get a paycheck deposited into my account. It's like, no, I got to take this client and this client and make sure I'm booked on this day. And, you know, I get paid on the spot. So it's not like if you don't work, you don't get paid. Yeah. So I think that's the scariest thing is, yeah.
I had a friend yesterday. I went to coffee with a friend of mine, and they were like, hey, so I'm going to ask you something. It might be a little uncomfortable for you and stuff. And I'm like, I mean, I'm an open book, so ask away. And they're like, what does your monthly income look like? And for me, I don't believe in the taboo of hiding income. For me, I'm like, it's just, the way I look at money is it's a game that we all play.
Yeah.
And you're either really good or really bad. And so for me, I'm like, I don't give a shit if someone knows my income.
Yeah.
I'm like, they can't really do anything about that. If I say I make $1 million, I mean, the only thing they could do is ask me for money, and I say, go fuck off. I mean,
yeah.
So they were asking, but I was like, I just realized, though, I don't have a regular 9 to 5. I can't be like, well, I make X amount a year.
Yeah,
I was like, I don't know how to answer that, because I do so many different things for income now, and there's so many different things that, like, a little bit comes from here, a little bit comes from here, but then I have to do this, and then so I'm like, I was literally looking at my statements, and I'm like, I mean, technically, I guess this might be it, but then I can't really include that because
you have to, like, average it out, because, like, month to month it could be different depending on you know, how busy you were that month. Or whereas with the 9 to 5, you're like, I work the same hours every single month, I know this is my take home, and then that's it. But for us, it's like, okay, last month I had a bunch of projects, this month I only have a few.
Yeah, I was telling her that, you know, because I was like, well, I mean, last month I probably made like $2,500, and obviously that doesn't sound like a lot, which I admit I don't make a lot at all right now. But and she's like, oh, okay, so you make this. I'm like, well, yeah, but that's not going to at all reflect months prior to that or months after that, because that one I had a few photography gigs, I had this that happened, like I had a lot of stuff that happened last month that might not happen again for a long time.
Yeah.
And
it's all up in the air. It depends.
Yeah. And, so it's like, I can tell you possibly what I made last month, but that's not at all going to reflect anything about this month. Like, if somehow this podcast pops off in the next like month or two, and I make a bunch, it's like, oh, how are you making $2,000 a month?
You need some
last month's I know. Hey, Coke. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't mind, you know.
Right.
But it can have that jump like that, like especially with how the world is. Something can go viral. This podcast could get a bunch of things, and then like,
and you never know.
A friend of mine could be like, I thought you were making this much. I'm like, yeah, but now I'm making this much. And they're like, well, how did that happen? I'm like, that's just how it works sometimes. I mean, sometimes I might have a month where I make stupid amounts of money. Other times I'll have a month where I'm like, I made like $10, I think.
Yeah.
And then, like, off of giving someone an Uber ride.
Yeah.
I think. Like, it's so fluctuating. So I definitely understand where kind of the nervousness and stuff comes from that.
Yeah.
Is it as good of a life as you thought it would be working for yourself?
Yeah.
Like, obviously it does take a certain type of person and a certain mind frame to really be able to chase it down.
Yeah.
But at least especially in this day and age, I feel like the quote-unquote entrepreneurial life and the self-employment life is too glamorized. People don't understand the bullshit
work behind it and the stuff you gotta deal with.
The hard shit that goes into it, because it's not this whole thing with like these YouTubers and stuff saying like, oh yeah, I mean, I work like an hour a day and then I get to go to the gym and focus on this, focus on that. I'm like, it's not like that at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, it depends on the type of business that you're getting into, but I feel like it's way too over glamorized. So in your opinion, what are some of like the unexpected turns that happened in doing it? Stuff that you thought would be a lot easier turned out to be a lot harder, or stuff that was that you thought would be nearly impossible for you to figure out, but then you're like, oh shit, actually this is not nearly as bad as I thought it would be.
I don't know. I think I pride myself in figuring things out pretty well as I go. And I'm also the type that like I want to learn how to do something before I hire somebody to do it. So I don't know. I think like being able to run my websites and like if I have because I have my cosmetics brand also, so doing my own like.
Oh, you have your own cosmetics brand too.
Yeah, I
so
do.
you like? Do you use your own product then?
I do sometimes, but I don't have like an extensive product line yet. So I only have a few products that I carry. I'm hoping to expand obviously in the future, but I've kind of put that on the back burner a little bit just because I've been focusing more on my client side of things. Because, you know, my clients bring in more money than, you know, selling a lip gloss does. So I focused on kind of just building my clientele up and starting my my glam team and hiring people to be contracted under me. But I'm hoping to eventually ramp up my beauty brand again. But like learning how to do like my product photography when I needed it, because, you know, at that point funds might have not been there to hire a professional photographer to do all these, you know, fancy shots and stuff. And just, I don't know. I don't think there's one thing that sticks out to me that I was like, I don't know, not like surprised about, I guess, that I was surprised about. Yeah. I think, I don't know. I'm just good at figuring it out as I go.
Honestly, I when you were saying kind of doing it yourself before you hire someone else, I respect that a lot, because it does irritate me a lot when somebody creates something that they know nothing about. Yeah. And like, I understand, obviously, everyone specializes in something. So I don't expect one person to know everything or be the master of everything. But I do feel like you have to have some sort of experience in everything that you're going into business for. Yeah. And yes, like, obviously, if you're an investor and you have a holdings company and you just buy a bunch of different types of businesses, that's one thing. But when someone is like, oh, I'm going to open my own beauty brand, but they know nothing about skin, they know nothing about colors or ingredients or anything about that industry, and they're not just like, oh, like, it's one thing if like Warren Buffett goes in and he's like, I want to purchase Maybelline. That's one thing. It's like, okay,
he'll be able to hire someone to like run it. And
you're a stakeholder. No one's expecting you to really understand. It's more of a business transaction. But if it's someone like you that's starting something from the ground up and like, oh, I want to do this, but I'll just hire someone to do it for me. For me, I'm like, well, what's going to happen if someone asks you about
your
the
brand
process,
or the product or the process?
Product, like, especially like, oh, it's a vegan, and it's like, I mean, I don't put any eggs or anything in it, so obviously. And it's like, well, that's not what we mean. It's like, I don't know. It's like, so you're telling me you own this brand and it can get you in hot water. Yeah. For me, I was in a similar situation with the nightlife. So when I had that entertainment company, my number one goal was to open some sort of like nightclub or something myself. But I was telling myself, I don't want to do that unless I've done bouncing, I've done bartending, I've done pretty much everything, and like, because I don't want to be the hypocrite that goes in and I'm talking to the bartenders, I'm like, why aren't you guys doing this? Why aren't you guys doing this? I didn't want them to be like, well, he doesn't know what it's like to be a bartender. He doesn't know one of these. I want to be able to, like, I've been in your guys' shoes. I know exactly how hard it is. I know exactly where it is like this. If I was to go into the makeup industry and be like, well, why aren't you guys using this? Or why aren't you guys doing this? I don't want them to be like, do you not know anything about this at all? I want to be able to be like, I understand that it's a little bit more difficult for this, but I know it's possible because I've done it. I know it's possible to sell this to this kind of person because I used to do that. Or I know it's possible to substitute this ingredient with this ingredient because I've done it in the past. And yes, the price has gone up for it, or maybe for whatever reason we're not doing it anymore, but having that first-hand experience, I think, is that much more valuable. Because,
and I think like wanting to, I also don't want to get like taken advantage of, I guess. So I'm like, okay, let me figure it out for myself and try to do it. And then if I can't figure it out, now I know what it entails and what I should expect out of it. So now I know that I can pay this person and be like, okay, that's
I understand why you're charging.
I understand why you're charging that way. Rather than me just being like, oh, I need this, this, and this, and then paying all this money and then it under delivers. So, you know, that happened to me with my beauty brand. I was like, okay, I know how to take photos with this camera that I bought, and they're good enough for me for like this part, but the other stuff I'm trying to do, I don't know how to get it to look that way. So now let me go hire a videographer. Let me hire a photographer. Let me get the shots that I want.
Yeah.
Because I know now that I've tried it, I can't execute it myself the way I'm envisioning in my head.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it kind of gives you a respect for others that specialize in that craft. Like, if you are a brand that needs a photographer, like I did a wedding a little while ago when I was a photographer, and for them, obviously, they don't know everything that goes behind photographing or video recording a wedding. And so when I tell them it's going to be a few months for me to edit everything, they're freaking out like, wait, what? Why? And I'm like,
they want it back like right away.
Yeah. And like, it's no disrespect to them. They just don't specialize what I specialize in. So they don't understand the craft. And so I have to, they're like, well, why does it take so long? And I could have gone the route of like, seriously, and like blowing up at them. But I'm like, wait, I have to remember, they don't specialize like I do. They don't understand everything that goes into it. So I had to break it down. I had to be like, well, it was a 6-hour event, and I was recording about 80% of it, so I have about 4 or 5 hours of footage to go through.
Yeah.
Out of that 4 to 5 hours, I have to go in and see which parts look the best and cut out all the rest of it, because I'm not going to be making you guys a 3-hour-long movie.
Yeah.
I'm cutting this down to a 10-minute highlight reel.
Yeah.
And so I have to go through hours and hours of footage to see what looks best
to
of this reel.
Squeeze it down into 10 minutes is like, that takes a long time.
And then taking all that and making a storyline out of it to where it makes sense and it's appealing to the eye. And then I have to go through and find music to match up and make it to where the music makes the mood match. And when you're watching it, you have that gushy feeling of, oh, this is so cute.
This is our wedding,
And then so I have to like break everything down and go into that. And as soon as I broke it down, he's like, oh my God, I didn't realize of how intense. I was like, yeah. And I'm giving you guys a hella discount because you guys are family friends and you guys are really close to me and I'm helping you guys out. But
there's a lot of work that goes on.
In the future, I might be charging this much, but you really should not expect to be charged this much in the future, especially if you're reaching out to somebody else, because there's a reason why like people will take on like 1 or 2 wedding clients a month and still make 6 figures, because they'll charge thousands of dollars. And a lot of people are like, oh, isn't it just pointing a camera at a person and you record? I'm like, no.
It's like, then you do it and see how good the photos come.
Or like makeup. It's like, in my eyes, I don't know anything about makeup, so I'm like, oh wow. So when I hear someone's like, oh, I paid like $1,000 for makeup, I'm like, shit, okay.
Oh, I've had people that are like, that want to negotiate my price or lower it, or they're like, why does it cost this much if so and so is charging this much? And it's like, I usually don't take the time to explain myself. I'm just like, this is what my pricing is.
This is my price, love it or hate it.
Yeah, I mean, I say it in a nice way, obviously, but because I don't feel like I need to explain myself to every single person as why I'm charging what I charge. But I'm like, the years of experience, the products I use, the products I buy to make sure everything's clean so you don't get an infection from anything. Right. The gas I'm using to come to you, to load, unload, like I have my chair, I have my ring light, I have my bags, and it's not, lightweight, and it's like all these things, and it's like, this is why I charge what I charge. But people are like, oh, but can you do it for cheaper? And I'm like, at the end of the day, getting your makeup done it's a luxury service. It's not a need, it's a want. So if you want this is the price you're gonna have to pay. Like, you don't need this, so you don't have to pay it if you don't, like.
And I like what you were saying about like experience and stuff. It reminds me of I can't remember where I heard it. It was on social media, I think, a little bit ago, and I use social media way too much, but I can get into that another point. But they were saying of like, there's a plumber that goes in, or like you have a pipe or something that's busted in your kitchen. You hire 3 different plumbers. The first one goes in, they can't figure it out. They're in there for hours. Second one goes in, they can't figure it out. And the third one goes in, taps a couple things, 2 minutes, he's out. But he still charges $2,500. And you're sitting there, I'm like, why is it $2,500? You literally spent 2 minutes under the sink, did a couple things, and he's like,
but it's the experience that was able to
you're
let
not charging
you do
me for doing
it.
those. You're charging me for the fact of the 50 years plus of experience I have to know exactly what happened, how to fix it, and the fact that I might be charging $2,500, but I spent a million times more than that to get the experience and stuff to be able to do that. And so, like, for someone who's in a different career field, like photography or something. You're not. I'm not charging you. Like, yes, I'm charging you on time, but I'm also charging you based off of my experience of learning composition, coloring, angles, all these things that
Same. I'm like, I have to know how to deal with all skin tones, skin textures.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, so
you have to know of like what product is going to look best on this. If they have hardcore acne, or if they say that like, oh, I have the most sensitive skin in the world, then you have to be like, okay, well, maybe applying this in this fashion doesn't work that way, or maybe using this kind of product isn't going to be best. This other product is going to look pretty similar, but it's not going to be as harsh on your skin.
It's product knowledge. It's
exactly.
And timing too, because like, you know, I prefer to take about an hour on a person to, you know, make them look their best. But I've had times where I've had to do 5 faces in like an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Oh my God.
So that's like 5 hours of time that I would have liked to spend, like just have everything done, lashes on, lips, like good enough to go on stage. This was for a conference, so that was being filmed, so they had to be, you know, presentable in front of all these people, and I'm just back there like, and if you had someone else that didn't have that much experience as me, they would have taken long and it would have been like not started on time or anything, but
that's because you have that specialized expertise of being able to, like, there was a triangle that another entrepreneurial friend of mine was telling me about, and it's the most, it makes the most sense of anything. So when you're giving a service to a client, you have 3 things. You can only choose 2 of 3 things. There's time, quality, and price. So you can either have the really quick time and really good quality, but that's going to cost you a hell of a lot more. You can have really good price and really good quality, but time might not be
what you want.
It might take way longer.
You
can have time and price, but the quality is going to be absolutely horrible. So it's like you can't choose all 3 of those. You have to.
I like that.
You have to, because he had a client that he was supposed to be doing a video for, and usually this type of thing is like a week turnaround. They're like, we need this by 8 a.m. or 8 p.m. tonight. And he like filmed it that day, and he's like, okay, well, price is gonna be double. And they're like, wait, what? Why? And he's like, well, okay, choose other things. Do you want bad quality? Do you want higher price?
Do you want me to just throw something together?
Yeah, because I mean, I can keep the price the same, but it's gonna look like absolute dog shit, which I'm not comfortable with because I don't produce dog shit.
And then his name is attached to that.
Exactly, and it's like, or we can extend the time back out and keep the price the same, or we can either do that or pay way more, and I can prioritize the shit out of this and have this produced to you still with quality and stuff, but I'm putting everything else that I have on the back burner
to work on yours.
Exactly. And for me, that just like blew my mind, because I'm like, well, duh, because you can't have all 3, especially when it's a service or something. Like, yes, I have the expertise to be able to do this, but you have to also think I'm worth a hell of a lot more than that. It's not just a normal job at that point. It's something to where that in order for me to put the car in hyperdrive, I need to add some extra gas into it for a couple seconds. I need to be able to, well, I did promise these other clients I was going to have it to them, and taking on this deal might mean I lose those clients then. So I need to do something to compensate for the fact of the possibility of losing other business because I'm prioritizing yours. And so, but even just going back to like expertising, like you don't have to completely expertise in everything. Obviously, like for you don't have to do the top-notch CPA and stuff to do this, but having a little bit of knowledge to know for someone else that's like, oh, I'm a CPA, yeah, 10 grand and I can do your taxes. Someone else that doesn't know any better might be like, oh, okay, cool, yeah, here's 10,000. Versus like you, like, I mean, I've had CPAs in the past that haven't charged nearly that much. So why are you charging? And for me, I don't ever feel bad necessarily about questioning stuff. As long as it's not in a insulting way of like insulting their work. More just like, I'm curious about the process, or I'm curious of why it does cost so much. Not in like a, why are you charging so much? God. Or like if I were to ask you like, why is it like, if I'm doing a wedding or something, and I go to you and say, hey, my wife needs makeup done for our wedding, and you're like, oh, it costs $25,000. At first, I'm be like, oh shit, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm curious though about the business.
Why.
I'm curious though, like, what is your experience? What is this? Because if you're coming to me and you're like, I mean, I just started yesterday, and I heard on YouTube that you can charge a hell of a lot, so that's why I charge this much. I'm gonna be like, okay, you're bullshit. Then I'm moving on to somebody else. Versus like, well, I've been doing this for this much. I've worked with these people, so you can go for these references.
Yeah.
I can send you my work so you can see what I do, and I use this equipment. If you could break it down for me, I'll be like, here's $30,000.
Yeah.
Awesome.
You have also on the flip side those people who come out right out the gate charging the premium price, and then you're like, whoa, wait a second. Like, I've seen like what you can do, and that's not.
Yeah.
Like, slow down a little.
And that's where a lot of people, I feel like, they get too much of a chip on their shoulder. They research a little bit, like, oh, I found out the makeup industry is a really cool industry. I just started a makeup brand out of my closet or something, and now I'm charging $20 for a stick of lipstick. Yeah. And it's like, okay, so you're charging as much as Kylie Jenner charges for her lipstick. Tell me why I should buy yours instead. And I'm like, oh, I mean, I don't know.
I just mixed it up.
Yeah, I just mixed it up. And, I mean, Kylie Jenner charges this, so I can charge it too. And it's like, well, I mean, Kylie Jenner also has a team of scientists to develop her stuff. She also has...
And she's also built herself up as a brand herself.
Exactly.
You know? So, yeah.
So
it's just interesting.
It's really funny when someone tries to do that. It's like, when they started, they weren't charging top notch.
Yeah.
They charge that much because people, they don't have to question her anymore. Or like when even like a luxury fashion brand like Gucci comes out.
Yeah.
Yes, when they first started, it was about the quality. It wasn't the name brand that was selling. They were able to charge a little bit more, but it was because of the quality of stuff that they were using and just like they were able to build it for a reason.
Yeah.
If a company were to come out today and be like, my stuff is $30,000 for a bag and it's not that good, blah blah blah, like they're not gonna launch off. People need to understand why it's being charged that much.
Yeah.
Like, yes, people buy the name of the brand now, but that name of the brand is where it's at for a reason. And that's because of the accolades and stuff that it's received.
The years behind it.
Exactly.
And,
yeah, like Louis Vuitton, it's not just something that came out yesterday and everyone's doing that. It's something that's been around for decades and it has a very high reputation behind it. So even if they might not produce as high of quality stuff today, it has a reputation behind it already.
Name and
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of stuff that I feel like it's over glamorized or that gets misconstrued, especially for those in the service industry or those that have their own business.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear.
Because everyone's always going to show the good stuff that happens, right? The good side of things. Rarely are you going to see people like, oh, well, today I did this and I lost a bunch of money. Like, you know, you rarely see that on social media. So everyone's always going to glamorize it and the good side of things. And yeah, I wake up and I do whatever I want. And then, but no one sees on the back burner, like, you know, I stayed up till 5 a.m. the other night because I was trying to figure something out. And I got like 3 hours of sleep and I have a client right now. And
or those weeks that you did work 14 days straight without a single day off.
Yeah.
Or the bullshit clients that you've had to deal with for the past 3 days trying to cuss you out for the prices. Or because I'm sure it hasn't been an easy line for you of straight just like, oh yeah, I mean, I decided to do this, now I'm rich. I'm sure there's been clients that you've dealt with that were less than ideal to deal with.
Definitely.
I'm sure that there's been days to where you've probably just broke down because you were just so exhausted and you're like, if I was working 9 to 5, I would be able to just watch Netflix right now, but instead I have to research this for this client or doing this.
And then wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning go to my next thing. And then,
and it's like, while your other friends are probably out on vacation, you're stuck here doing an event or something.
Yeah.
And, I'd rather be spending my spring break or my 3-day weekend or quote-unquote 3-day weekend doing this with these people.
Yeah.
But I have to be home so that I can prepare for this huge event that I'm getting paid to do. And so, I don't know. And obviously, our first instinct isn't to post about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I feel like if people did kind of post about, like, hey, it's a shitty day in the business of this today. I just got off the phone with this client who decided to cancel last minute on my way to their thing.
Yeah.
I just got off this other things where they don't want to pay me afterwards because I plucked an eyebrow out by accident or something. Or, I don't know, some bullshit thing happened. Or
that's why I try to tell people that that ask me questions. They're like, oh, how did you do it? Or I'm always like, it's not an easy road. So you just have to be prepared to roll with the punches.
Yeah.
And just be adaptable. Because if you're not adaptable and like change freaks you out and uncertainty freaks you out, then it's going to be really hard for you.
Yeah. Like, yes, it has its perks.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also one of the most difficult things. I mean, I'd say lately one of the hardest things I realized was like income verification stuff. Like,
oh my gosh, yes.
That was surprisingly one of the most difficult things I've ever had to deal with. When I started doing like Uber and stuff and I was technically self-employed.
Yeah.
At that point I was like, yeah, I'm making pretty good money. I can afford this apartment. But then these apartments were like, we need pay stubs, or if you're self-employed, we need either
like bank statements and
that wasn't even the hard thing for me. There was a couple that were like, we need to see 12 months worth of rent in your account right now. And doing that, I'm like, so you're telling me to move in, I have to have $70,000 in my checking account? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, if I had that much money, I wouldn't be renting your...
Yeah, like I wouldn't be at this complex.
I would be putting a down payment on a house.
Yeah.
And so I was like, how can you expect that? And they're like, or we need like 4 years of statements saying you did this. And I'm like, so if I was a startup and I was negative...
Or you need to make like 6 times the rent or whatever. And it's like, well, if I was making that, then I wouldn't be in a house right now.
So you're telling me the rent for this place is $1,500 and I need to be making $7,000 a month in order to do this. I wouldn't be renting here. I'd be going to Scottsdale.
More of a luxury. Yeah.
I'd be going to a hella big luxury place where I don't have to worry about this shit. And so that's the other flip side with a lot of it. Anything that like renting or like leasing a car or something, or anything that requires a kind of income verification, they need like tax statements and stuff. Like for me, I'm like, I don't have tax statements yet. I started this 8 months ago, so it hasn't been a full year to where I've need to file my taxes yet.
That's the thing, is like you have to you have to like keep your paper trail, like all your bookkeeping and stuff needs to be in order. And like when you first start off going into this entrepreneurship, you're just kind of like, oh, I'm doing this, this, and this, and I'm getting paid.
Right.
But then on the back end, you're like, oh, I need to track what is going on, because now if I'm going to try to rent something or do something, they need income verification. And you're like pulling from all over the place, like, oh, there's this, and then I did this. And it's like, Well,
and that extra added layer of stuff and responsibility for yourself that you have to do, like keeping track of your miles now, because if you're traveling to clients, that's a whole extra thing. And if it's like, hey, so I'm up in Page and we're doing a wedding up here, and it's like, well, I'm traveling from Phoenix, so it's going to be like a 4-hour drive. That's, you definitely want to track the miles for that
and charge extra.
Or if it's like an out of state thing, they're willing to pay you for it, but it's like, oh, I'm traveling out of state now, so I need
a hotel room and a flight.
And so you need to be able to account that for taxes. So it's like, it's not even just your business that you're worrying about, it's all these extra little tedious things. And like, do you want a receipt? And like your immediate response is, no, I'm good. And like, oh shit, no, I do need a receipt. And they're looking at you like, oh, you're actually asking for a receipt? I've never had anyone actually ask for the receipt. And it's like, I kind of
business purposes.
I have to ask for it now. So, anyway, this is probably one of the longer podcasts I've had. I appreciate you coming on a lot and kind of giving us a little bit. Sorry we didn't really get a whole lot into your business.
Oh no, it's okay.
I enjoy also kind of diving into a lot more of the personal stuff behind all of it. So I appreciate the vulnerability and kind of just letting us in on the life of someone who is able to make this jump from the 9-to-5 that you used to do to working self-employed and stuff, and kind of getting into the nitty-gritty. And
it's been a journey for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything that you want to plug in or that you want people to know about?
So you guys can follow me on Instagram at Glambi_MUA. And then my beauty brand is Glambi Cosmetics, and you can buy that at glambicosmetics.com.
Do you have anything with you that you want to show the camera?
I don't.
No?
No.
We should have brought that. It's okay.
I know.
That's okay. Perfect. And then I'm going to have you do that little signature thing I told you about.
Okay.
So my name is blank, and I've just been unmasked.
My name is Gabi, a.k.a. Glambi, and I've just been unmasked.
Awesome. One of these days, we'll be able to not have to tell the person how to do it. One of these days when the podcast is Joe Rogan stuff, and they'll be like, "Hey,
when it takes off?
Yeah, can I do my signature?" I'm like,
"Oh, you
unmasked? can I say it?" And I'll be like, "Wait, you know what it is already?"
Yeah.
Hell yeah! I'm gonna be so hyped up that day. Awesome.